Hello and welcome to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler, the aforementioned Spooky Chris. Hopefully you found this through my website, spookychris.com, where you can find all my books and ramblings and all of my podcasts. If you found it another way, then bless your heart, dear stranger, and welcome. I try to do these as micro podcasts because nobody needs to hear me ramble for more than about 15 minutes. That just is pushing sanity a little too far. As I said, I am Spooky Chris. My name's Chris Ringler. I am an author and oddball living in mid-Michigan during the time of the COVID. So I thought today I would share with you two stories. I mean, we all have weird stories, live long enough and you've seen it all. But I've had, my fair share of oddball stories. I'll give you two and a half. So this is just a throwing out there story because I don't have a lot of great stories. This is probably maybe my best story, and I'm gonna not do it justice, but you'll be fine. So once upon a time, I worked at a convenience store. I was just a clerk at a convenience store. I was lucky because we did not sell lottery tickets. We rented movies was the weirdest thing, and we sold porno mags, but it was no big deal of a job per se, and can't say I loved it. I worked second shift, and then second and a half shift, so like was it 1 to 9, and then sometimes 3 to midnight or something like that. I forget what it was, 3 to 1. On weekends, it was a job. I was very young, still in, I think I was still in college, or it was around then. And I was young, and like I say, it wasn't too bad because we didn't sell lottery tickets, which would have been a huge pain in my ass. So once upon a time, I was working there, and I'll make this kind of brief. This is not one of the good. This is not one of my main stories I was going to tell. I just thought of this one. So I worked. I was working the register. It was a weekend, so I was working with this other guy, and I'll be darned if I can remember his name. It was funny because he would go and just basically sit in the cooler for most of the shift. He was quote unquote stocking the cooler, and he just kind of just disappeared. He didn't want to run the register. He just kind of hung out. He was a third shift guy. Just not a lot of personality. Older dude. Just not the friendliest guy in town. We had a very, very weird, I was going to say staff. You can tell I've been working white collar too long. Crew, I guess. There's Ruth was an older lady who had a couple strokes, and Connie, who was she was kind of the main chick, who everybody loved, and Dave and his wife owned it, and blah blah blah. There's me, and there was the late shift guy. I can't remember if there was another person or not, but anyway, so I was working with Mr. Personality, and in comes these two guys, and we did sell booze, so I did have to check IDs and stuff. So that was that was a pain in the neck, and that just kind of tells there's enough stories there to kind of tell a different day. So part of me is like, should I tell those stories? Not really, because a lot of them are kind of depressing more than anything else. It was just not the happiest. People would come in and buy 2 40s, okay, and then they come back a couple hours later and buy 2 more 40s. That's a bummer. And there's a girl that came in with her father, and I think her father wanted me to fancy his daughter. It was very strange, but she would buy him, 2 40s, 2 340s or something, and he would come in drunk. God, there was a night where these two kids, and I hope that everything worked out for them. These 2 kids were trying to buy booze, and they were teenagers, and that was super. It was weird. It was weird because it was a small town at the time, a small town kind of a convenience store. So back to the main crux of this. So I'm working. It's Friday. These 2 guys come in. I go back to the coolers, grab some booze. And it was just beer or something. I don't think it was anything too exciting. Put it up there. And I'm like, okay, can I see your ID? And the one guy's like, oh, man, I don't have it. Blah, blah. Do you take Michigan IDs? And we didn't. You just don't. That's not legal. form of identification as far as, at least back then, as far as proving that they're 21. So, he goes, well, wait, I've got my, and this is just ridiculous. And he's saying like he was in the army or something. I don't know. He said something about that. He's like, I've got the number tattooed on me. Like, I can prove it. It's me. It's everything. That's me. And I'm like, no, man, I can't take it. And he starts getting upset. And he's like, man, like, I'm old enough to buy this stuff, and I've got my ID, and it's tattooed on me. Like, I don't know what you want. Like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't take it. And again, this is a long time ago. I was still kind of a kid. I was in my 20s, but I was still kind of a kid. And he's getting more and more angry, and he's like, I want to talk to your boss. Who's your boss? Like, I want to see the boss. Who's the boss? And I immediately said, Tony Danza. And then I smiled, and I looked over at the third shift guy who was working. He came up and he was sitting, and I looked over at him and I was smiling. I thought I was the cleverest kid in town. Turn back to guy. He didn't get it. His friend didn't quite get it. And then either it clicked or he just saw my kind of crap-eating smile, and he kind of started to come over the counter at me, and he started to freak out, and, going to kick my butt and blah, 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 and to meet him outside, and he's going to do all these things. And his friend's like, oh, he's fine. Oh, I'll get him out of here. And so his friend took him outside, and then he came back. Friendo had an ID. Friendo could prove he was over 21. And I'm sure the dude was over 21. But the thing is this, like, had he not been, had it been a sting, that is very bad for me. But the guy comes in, and guy came in and bought everything, apologized for his friend, and, oh, yeah, he's just a little ankle biter. Oh, gosh, don't pay him any mind. And I quit that night. I was already halfway kind of out the door, and I was just like, I'm out. Like, I had kind of enough of that lifestyle, and I was not going to be threatened at my job, and I was out. And I was still pretty funny. It's pretty clever. Guy asked you who's the boss, and you say Tony Danza. That's pretty good. Angela probably was really the boss. Despite the name of the show, Angela was really the boss. She's paying the bills, but it was pretty clever just the same. But again, that's just the introduction. So I have a bunch of these stories. I'll tell one more, and then maybe I'll save the other one for another time and regale you with more tales of ridiculousness. So once upon a time, a friend and I went to a concert. So there was a band called Guitar Wolf. Guitar Wolf was an Asian rock band. I don't want to say maybe Japanese. I think they were a Japanese rock band. And they were in a movie, and I'll be dogged if I can remember it. They're in the most ridiculous, amazing movie. Look them up, Guitar Wolf. And the movie is this Japanese oddball zombie alien movie, and this guy, and he falls in love with a girl, and he has a thing for the girl, and she kind of has a thing for him, and he's going through. And this rock band, it's a 3-piece rock band, keep turning up to give him advice, and the guy finds out eventually that the young woman is trans, and he's very upset, and he doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't know his feelings. And Guitar Wolf, it was Guitar Wolf, Drum Wolf, Bass Wolf. Guitar Wolf is like basically follow your heart. Love is, you gotta go with love. So he just lets go, and he gives up to love, and they're together, and it's wonderful. And then there's zombies, and then there's aliens. And then there's like a giant sword that cuts a UFO in half, and it's amazing, and it's so weird. Wild Zero is the name of the movie, and it is for real worth seeking out. It's amazing. I believe Synapse used to put it out on DVD. I'm not sure who might have it now. Everything kind of gets crazy rights-wise. So Guitar Wolf went on tour a long time ago, and my friend and I went to go see them. And it was one of those things where, like, you kind of, neither one of us were into them per se. They were kind of noise punk more than anything. So, I mean, for us, we weren't really into them. We just wanted to go because it was going to be a fun show. So we go, and it's down in Detroit. And it's a smallish club. So we go, and we're hanging out, and we run into a lot of these people we know. And there's a guy we know, and he's always the dude who's always boasting about, like, oh yeah, I hung out with this, this celebrity. I met this celebrity. Oh, I've done this. And it was always kind of folks that we knew. It was, kind of genre people or cult people. And, oh, yeah, I did this. Oh, I did that, And the guy knew people, but he always had big stories, like big, big stories. So it was hard to take him seriously. So go watching the show. Super weird, fun show, like crowded show. Swear to God, only concert I've ever been to where I have seen the audience leave before the band. And that's not a diss on them. Guitar Wolf it's their former band. I think Bass Wolf died, and they busted up. But it was, the band went on so long and so late, and it just became just noise and drunkenness that the crowd just kind of was left. So as the show's going, the band is just getting more and more drunk and more like freewheeling and crazy and pulling people up on stage and being nutty. So at one point, we're watching the show. They pull a dude up on stage, and who should it be but our boastful, braggart friend, who and maybe all of his stories are true. Now that we know that one was, maybe all of his stories are true. Who knows? So they bring him up on stage, give him a guitar. Guitar Wolf gives him the guitar, and he starts just kind of jamming on it, and Guitar Wolf's making up a song, and they're just kind of all drunkenly doing their thing. And that guy we know, our friend, is on stage for a song, and it's just crazy and super surreal. And, that gets over. And again, like, this show keeps going, like, where people just keep dispersing, and they're just making stuff up. And eventually, like, the other band members kind of leave, and Guitar Wolf's up there by himself just jamming on the guitar and kind of singing, and people are getting on stage and singing with him, just making stuff up. Super weird night, super fun night. Show finally ends. We kind of leave, my friend and I, and it's very late. We're down, we're down in Detroit. I don't know, most folks who don't know Detroit, Woodward Avenue is the main kind of thoroughfare through Detroit, and we're, it's on this venue is on Woodward, and we're kind of walking down the sidewalk towards where I parked, next to Woodward, and we're talking and just kind of like, wow, this is crazy. And we're walking, and we run into some another bunch of weirdo folks that had been to the show, and they're like, woo, and like one of them had a boom box. It was just strange. So we're walking again and going back to the car, talking about the show, and all of a sudden we hear boom, car crash. Slowly turn around to see a car flipped on its side down the block from the direction we had just come, and we're both like, what just happened? And all of a sudden we see someone running at us at full tilt, and we're kind of like, what's going on? And as he's getting closer, we see that there's cop cars over by the car, and the cops are running after him. And we're just kind of like, and all of a sudden he runs past us, and I swear, I had one instant where I was like, do you stop him? Do you try to trip him? I don't know what you do, because in this situation, we just kind of stood there, and he blasted through us. My friend and I, ran past us, and then the cops go past us, and they go to get him, and we're just kind of like, okay, don't know what to do. And they just disappear into the night, and, our boombox friends are kind of just like, oh my God. We're all just kind of don't know what just happened. And it was, it was the most surreal concert I've ever been to, and the weirdest, because, yeah, it's very strange. Concerts are their own weird animals in and of themselves, because they're just it's an events kind of thing. Every event like that has its own life and its own heartbeat, and it's like this private joke between people that have all gone and seen it. When I was younger, a million years ago, I saw there's a band called Mr. Bungle that Mike Patton, that was in Faith No More, was in. It was his first band, I guess. I guess he'd call it his first band. And I saw them in Detroit, and that show that I saw them a couple times in Detroit, but it's considered like the Notorious show, where they performed, like they initially performed, like, and then they formed at the beginning of a second set as the Red Hot Chili Peppers played Chili Peppers songs and made fun of the Chili Peppers pretty ruthlessly, and it got them kicked off of a big tour that the Chili Peppers were on, and Anthony Kiedis found out about the show and was like, no, they're off the tour. And it was a big, like, not Lollapalooza, but it was it might have been a big show, like, that might have been it, but it's worth looking up, because it was a great show, but it was very weird and funny, and it's funny that I saw that kind of dramatic, like musically historical show. But yeah, so we all have these weird little stories, and those are mine. My weird Guitar Wolf story about our braggart friend his dreams came true, and the weird police chase we saw, and then my fun story, Tales from the Convenience Store, which that was not the most. I mean, I made the best of it. Like, I would come in every shift and like take over. As soon as the other person left, I would go to mop and stuff. I'd turn the hot dog machine back on, pour myself a large pop from the fountain pop machine, make myself a couple hot dogs, proceed to crash into a stool and chow down, and just kind of hang out for my shift and just while away the time. I read a lot of books and stuff there, and I can't remember if I wrote a lot. It seems like I was in school still, so maybe I did schoolwork. Oh, interesting job. But those are my COVID-19 tales, friend, in this strange little world we live in. As always, you can find my stuff at spookychris.com. All of my books are in the Haunted Bookstore there, or available on Amazon. I'm always happy to find new readers, so check my stuff out, see what you think. My blog / website has all kinds of like free stories that I'll throw on there, like first drafts. So if you want to sample my wares, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, be safe, and I will talk to you soon, I would wager. Goodbye.